Udyr.
Sasa's Udyr the last time around looked
yeah?
pretty decent. I mean, he looked pretty good. So
oh, that's why.
I could see it. I could see it.
Okay.
The K'Sante, first pick.
First pick, K'Sante.
What's up with blue side first picking for their top laners? I guess the Varus is all the way through and locked in for LGD.
K'Sante is 8-2 in this format for Fearless, and it's another.
Copy pastas ready.
Yeah, it's another season. It's another rift. We got more objectives on the map. We've got brand new year, brand new same OP K'Sante, man. He's been remade.
Same thing. Man.
Yeah, you can't beat him. That said, might be an early Ambessa pick coming out for LGD. Now, this is a pick that we have seen flex mid a little bit, but obviously enabled to pick so early because they're comfortable with that K'Sante matchup.
Yeah. Which are you okay with that? I feel like it could be tough.
I think that Ambessa is a little bit feast or famine. Frankly, if you're gonna go Ambessa here on 2, I would have actually preferred Ashe.
Okay.
I think that the slows can really help enable Ambessa in the fights with all the movement that she gets, and Ashe is just a wee bit more supportive. Ambessa, for me, I think the right way to play it into Ambessa now, and if you have K'Sante into Ambessa, lane swap. Ambessa without resources, I think the best comparison that I have for this pick is Olaf, just in the fact that Olaf is just completely reliant on the resources that he is able to consume on the map. Ambessa feels the same way, a little bit harder to dive pre-6. Also, post-6 tough to dive, but I think you have to really take steps to try and starve out this champion and set her behind. So we'll see if LGD can protect that. And WE, I mean, they're just showing full dive with Akali and Wukong. And I did tease that Climber Lee Sin, okay matchup against Wukong Akali. That's going to be locked in.
I actually don't mind the Wukong for Tianzhen. I think it gives him a lot of playmaking potential on his own, but also some skirmishing power. I do kind of mind the Akali. I know LGD were a little bit scared of it in that game number 1 by banning it on the blue side, but we'll see if Karis can actually make good on this pick that I feel like can be very feast or famine in a lot of cases. Now, in the second phase, they didn't grab the Ashe. They didn't grab the trade. So Ashe is immediately banned away by LGD. Renata is the response by WE.
I do like that Renata ban a lot. Just Team WE, they're showing full dive very early on in this draft, so it's about some of the defense now that we can see from LGD. For similar reason, I like the MF ban. Decent matchup against Varus, and that bullet time over the top of full dive can be quite useful. Now XQW, he's got options.
I'm not buying it right now, Cubby. I'm not buying it. I'm putting the items back right now. I don't know. There's the Talia locked in as well for LGD.
I do like the Talia. I think that everything's showing for WE. There are dashes. Everyone's diving in. Talia can do just so much damage. Over time, it almost feels like damage that just comes out of nowhere because of all the consistent damage that can come out from those rocks. QW also into Akali, you will get some timers, so potential to go play around the map and go support other lanes as the dive comp continues. Kaisa locked in for Taeyoon.
Do you have your submarine suit ready? Mine's right here. I just need to go put it on real quick because we're going diving. So do you want to go first? Me?
Everyone's going in, man. That's the key to the game. I think Braum's okay. Braum has not had a lot of success here, but just having Braumalt, the ability to play off of... okay, going to be Nautilus.
Guess who's good to fight the divers in the ocean? It's the guy with the big anchor.
Wow, you were foreshadowing the pick, Mazel. That's incredible. Honestly, that's very impressive. Nautilus, for me, actually a better matchup against Rakan and trying to stop him from getting in. Braum can't really contest that. And also a better lane matchup. So maybe that's what LGD is looking for. As I will say, really curious to see if WE decide to swap. I think that setting Ambessa behind and then also getting Kaisa some solo gold, solo experience early. This champion scales so hard, not just with gold, but also levels. As you need those levels to get stats to maybe unlock some of those evolves just earlier in the game. Something I think that a team like Team Liquid, with their swap meta they figured out last year, them and Yawn, the way that they played around Kaisa is that they would just isolate him early game. D-Blade, solo lane, and just go from there. So want to see if they pull off that strat. I think lane swap definitely the best call for WE. Just attacking the Ambessa and then trying to set up Kaisa for success early on.
Definitely not distracted by the fact those two guys, the two coaches, just missed the fist bumps. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine.
That's not good. That's not a good sign.
It's not good. It's not good. It's not good.
Better than that.
You know what's good? Getting into game number 2 and getting away from that situation, because we're going to be getting into game 2 here shortly. It is a situation where LGD absolutely need to slam home this win. in this best of 5. It's also a series where WE need to slam home a win in this best of 5 because both teams are sitting at the bottom rungs of Group A in our single round robin. Best of 5, top 2 make it out, bottom 2 eliminated until spring. WE is a team who just last year in the former LPL, before our format changes, placed 9th. And this is a team that was in the upper echelon, in one of the teams that are in playoffs, where LGD, they finished 12th. To see those tables reversed and to see so much on the line, we hope to see a little bit of life with this new WE roster and the direction moving forward. Hopefully it comes from Tianzhen. Hopefully it comes from team play. But LGD, they've been looking pretty scary. They've got a lot of comfort going forward, and they've got a lot of power walking behind them, momentum, as we get into game number 2. Oh, no! Okay, well, at least they're both bad. I was going to say that.
Yeah.
That first WE Shaoye, there was like one guy.
I like to let the Giants breathe a bit. Unfortunately, those didn't do great. Oh, cash back, curiously enough, taken for Varus. That's a little bit different in terms of the setup that we have for some of the runes. I mean, big thing for me this game, I think lane swap really important, and I love to see LGD reading this and matching this. Again, like we teased in the pregame, the Kaisa Rakan lane, Nautilus can really stymie this lane. You have range advantage with a Varus, and Nautilus can stop Rakan engage and is really strong at laning. Also, the lane swap would have been really beneficial for just setting Ambessa behind, who is a champion that just really scales off the resources that she's able to get and secure. I mean, she's all about the damage, right? She's not bringing the utility. So good read on the lane swap here from LGD. I really feel like it's WE initiating and LGD recognizing this and responding. And this setup's going to be favorable for them in this game.
I'm just glad we get the little variation of strategies in this series a little bit. We get the normal setup in game number 1. As soon as things take a little bit of a turn, we get this lane swap setup. Now, how are we feeling about junglers heading up here? As yeah, YCX is in a lot of trouble. Oh god, there's flashes early. That's going to be ignites as well. Burn. YCX still has his vampire out of summoner spells. A little bit of pressure for this level 2, and WE will get it first.
A decent spacing there on the back half from Shaoye. Is going to need to continue to dodge those Qs from Rakan, which is really just a 1-point wonder for that champion. The amount of healing you get from those Qs is pretty filthy and will help get Taeyoon back to full health. So because Rakan has that sustain advantage, I do like this. Worth noting, too, both of our junglers working their way up toward the top side, much like last game. So ability to try and engage in this 2v2, make it a 3v3. I do think the 3v3, especially early on, it should favor LGD, just given the strength of Nautilus and the ease of execution with Nautilus, that dredge line into the root, trying to set up things for Lee Sin.
No double clears this time. Come on, say it with me, Cubby. No double clears.
No double clears.
We want blood. We want skirmishing. We want something to happen early. But I do think it's funny that we do have the same jungle path, but the map is completely different because we have the 2v2 up here.
I gotta say, Kaisa being forced back that early, though, is relatively shocking. I kind of missed how that happened. It happened off-screen, but that's a big pushback because now top crab goes over to Climber. That's going to be an easy one to secure. They do scout the Wukong making his way over to the bot side, but it is LGD with a slight advantage early. And now the question is, do they want to re-swap or keep the lanes where it's at? Varus will need to match the swap. They are going to get this lane in. We get a replay. Nice Q connected to the bottom right of the screen. And Shaoye doing a nice job with spacing. You do have range advantage with the Varus and with lethal tempo. He's using it well early on.
Well, and Shaoye, even in their last series, the 2v2 felt pretty good for them. YCX maybe even having some great games, but Shaoye is really good at putting down pressure in the 2v2. And when you give him the likes of Varus, probably the most lauded ADC in the meta right now, he can put down some serious damage.
Yeah, I still want to see LGD at least get a base. They could stall it for grubs, but you really want Varus to be able to match what Kaisa has so far, especially if we are considering a grub fight. If you do that at the right time, we'll have tempo for grubs, which I gotta believe LGD is looking for early on in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I expect the full kind of map swap. We also have timers up this time around, so you know we're back in the good place. And that feels good. Sasi is taking some hefty health trades up here, or I guess down here with Cube. Still should be fine, though.
The top laners tricked you there for a second.
They do, you know. As a play-by-play, I just can't process it. Lanes aren't where they're supposed to be. What? Crazy.
Well, that wasn't the best trade. We do already have a base from Cube, so Sasi kind of playing with free time, just trying to trade a little bit, take some health away.
Vampire's in a lot of trouble. Piercing arrow misses, and they get first blood for WE. Shaoye missing his crucial arrow, and now walking into a bush against Vampire, going for the barrier play, going for the double piercing, but he couldn't do it. He wanted the double kill, the cool play, but it's Taeyoon and WE that come up big.
And that's a big loss for LGD because their map state's really good right now if they just get these lanes in and are able to find a reset. That said, the 2v2 is found, and those 2 kills both went over to Taeyoon on the Kaisa. Talked about how a lane swap could benefit the scaling of this pick, getting those 2 kills so early. We've seen what Kaisa can do to maps later on if you take control. Great start for Team WE. It was a tough game 1. Game 2, though, off to a promising start.
And this is why we expect this series to go to 5, because it should be a slugfest.
I don't, but, you know, I like the fan vote.
Get out of here.
Yeah, trying to get into 5.
LGD going to come back, get that first grub, but WE had also gotten a change of pressure going up this way, so they should be able to secure these 2 grubs. Nobody will get the feat of strength for this one, but WE already secured that first blood, so they're on their way.
Last thing from that 2v2, do want to praise Taeyoon. I believe it was a flash Void Seeker. Oh, we're going to get a replay.
I want to see this from
yeah,
Shaoye.
YCX, he gets locked up. Good catch here from Vampire. I think it's a W flash from Taeyoon. Over the minion. Yep, that guarantees the passive proc. Really clean by Taeyoon. And, of course, as you called out, Mazel, that piercing arrow did go wide. Put Shaoye in a really tough spot here.
Did he not? Oh my god, he didn't have enough mana for the piercing arrow. Look at this play. He's looking for a double piercing arrow play onto them, but he has no mana. That feels so bad.
Yeah, that I also don't know if he even had the cooldown back, right? I think the brush flash could just be for
if you
vision.
go into that flash, I feel like if you're going for that play, the way he flashed, you have to have it up. I mean, maybe
you're also
not.
going for the vision break in the brush.
Yeah.
That's the other option there for ADs, but yeah, really tough. Oh, it looks like we had some action off screen.
CW in a lot of trouble mid lane.
Oh, he's dead.
Going under turret. Yeah, he just dies. Oh, it's a trade?
Oh.
No way.
Oh,
Karis made it out.
huge.
Now it's 3-0 for Team WE.
And the early kills are all in the right spot. Keep in mind that it's a very strong identity for Team WE's comp, and that identity, it goes one way. We're going in. That's what they want to do. The damage dealers that need to go in, get the damage down to get through LGD, they're the ones that are ahead early. And Karis, and importantly for me, Taeyoon, who is really off to the races, has 2 of the big components to get that early Kraken Slayer on the Kaisa.
Crazy.
And again, we've seen what Kaisa can do in games when she gets ahead. It really felt like for all of last year, 3-item Kaisa was just straight up a win con. If you got Kaisa with 3 items, you can play your way out of any game from there. So we'll see if that ends up being the case again here for Team WE, who I was disappointed at their lack of proactivity in the last game. I did ask that you either take a comp where you got to do something early or you get scaling. Feels like they got a little bit of both this time around with the Wukong, Akali, K'Sante. I mean, we're just going in with Rakan over the top, and then Kaisa, that safety net for the late game, trying to outscale what LGD is throwing at him. I do like scaling of LGD too, and Best is a problem that Kaisa's going to have to deal with, so it's not like Team WE are off to the races and completely outscaled this game. I think that it is still close, still could be contested, but the start really strong here for Team WE.
Yeah, I'm just happy to see a breath of life. Something, right? Like the fact that Taeyoon won the 2v2 in that with no jungle help, no jungle assistance, just a straight up 2v2. That's so remarkably better than that game number 1. Even the fact that we got the help in mid lane and got Karis something going on this Akali, which we already mentioned from draft, can be so detrimental to a team composition if it ahead, right? Like you can just find the access onto the squishy members, and that lack of range still bothers me to some extent for WE, but these early kills have dissuaded that a little bit.
I do like this play from LGD. So we did see Tianzhen was taking away the top side while Dragon was going down. LGD stuck to this side of the map, and they're going to power play bot side, try to starve out Taeyoon. as they have a level 6 advantage on the Varus, but here we go.
Vampire gets a big grand entrance. YCX tanking up the damage. Karis in there by himself, gets hooked out of the shroud, and Shaoye puts him in the dirt. That's a massive pick from LGD, and unfortunately Karis overplaying his hand a bit.
Yeah, I gotta say, I mean, I really want to praise LGD with how they were able to bounce back in this one, because like this play for bot side, it's just a textbook timer. You had 6 on Varus first compared to the Kaisa. Even after the 2v2 goes south, still relying on the basic fundamentals of the game, they bring more numbers down. That Chain of Corruption, such a big cooldown. Of course, it was Karis that ended up falling off a nice dredge line from YCX, making up for some of the sins earlier on. But I think the direction here from LGD, like, look at the setup, look at the pre-fight. Mid was good. Yes, the engage from Vampire is good, but you're not set up at all to actually take this. With Kaisa being level 5, level 6 being on this Varus. And yeah, easy dredge line in the Chain of Corruptions. That connects, Karis falls, gold goes back on the Shaoye. And that's a really good response and bounce back. And again, just playing around the strength, the stuff that you find in draft. Varus can push Kaisa around early, even after the lead was secured by Taeyoon. Really good bounce back play from LGD to stick to their strong side of the map and play it out.
And even a little bit worse for where they're Vampire flashing for a great entrance onto only YCX, because unfortunately Climber did not get connected to on there. So a couple combos going a little wide. We had a nice little Weaver's wall from XQW to stop some of the pressure. And bot side. Oh, the double knockoff! No! Oh, Vampire just got staked. The Grubbies have gone over to LGD. And they'll have 4 out of the 6.
Not just a 4-2 split, too, but Climber's going to try and take away this blue buff. Does have Smite coming off cooldown here in a second. And yeah, we'll secure that away from Tianzhen. So again, like the response from WE there is okay. They're trying to power play bot lane again, realizing that some of the CDs are down, and they had access to Kaisa ult, had access to the Cyclone from Wukong. But the way that LGD played it out, again, shifting Shaoye into the mid lane where he can just be safe, or a lot safer. Yeah, the Weaver's wall is burned. That's a big cooldown, but still got access to the wave, prevented the play, got all the resources, and only found a win cross side of the map. And that's how LGD has been able to at least play their way back into this one a little bit. It's been really nice. I mean, game 1, it was really start to finish, just a great game from LGD, playing out their win cons, playing out their comp really well. This time, WE made some nice plays early, put them on the back foot, but I've loved the responses we've seen out of LGD. This is a young team playing good macro and a good team League of Legends.
In the LPL, fighting your way out of early deficits, to me, is one of the most important skills, because there are so many games, so many series in the LPL's history that have just gotten blown out of the water so quickly for no reason. And the fact that you can try to fight your way back into that is such an important skill. As we see LGD doing that right now, Shaoye just putting in some damage onto Taeyoon. I mean, there's a reason why this Varus pick is consistently banned and looked after.
It's been really strong in this early season, and
doesn't even have an item.
Yeah, good to see Shaoye, who I feel like was, I don't want to say an unsung hero last game, just on Ezreal again, was put mid early, did his job, was doing a nice job of peppering and chunking out Team WE. This time around again, the mistake was made by his support, wasn't able to find the 2v2, which he went for early, but the bounce back from him and the way that he was even spacing Kaisa in the first few levels, it's really promising for this guy early on, who I think has had nice, like a couple nice performances here in the season. Again, a young team in LGD, an org that's trying to reclaim some of their status that they used to have in the LPL, sticking to their guns with what they had in LDL. And the young guys looking good in this series. Again, respectful performance, 0-3 to anyone's Legends, and what was a series much closer than that. You're not going to ride that home to the bank. Doesn't mean too much in LPL. And still losses, but playing this well against Team WE, that is something you can write home about. As Dragonfly might break even.
Yep,
yeah.
Dragon is 2,000. Climber's in there. He's going to kick him out.
Yep.
No, I saw that coming from a mile away. And so did Tianzhen. He gets bouncy castled into a death, and honestly, that's a little bit of toughie right there. Karis goes in for a combo. YCX is already down. Look at that damage. Taeyoon goes, finds the back line. Shaoye getting low.
He's down.
Shaoye going down. Now Karis still having an angle here, but Climber goes in, shuts him down. XQW throwing some rocks, and we got Q. Welcome back, everyone. We just went straight back in. Bug or no bug, WE can't do anything about it, I guess. And so Cube is just left to the wolves, and LGD win the fight.
I'm not sure if we're going to get a replay on this one. Frankly, I think the first time around, the WE fight looked a little bit more promising, but at least Cube was able to play the game this time around. But man, I like the last screen grab that we were on looked a lot more WE favor than this one, Mazel. And this is all of a sudden not looking too good for WE. Taeyoon might be the only hope, and he's really gotten starved out in the last few minutes thanks to some nice focus from LGD. I think back to that attack they had on bot lane, zoning Taeyoon out, using the level 6 advantage they had on Shaoye. And then that fight, Shaoye did go down, but still Taeyoon didn't get all too much and still being starved out in this game. Good steps for LGD.
I'm just wondering what could have possibly been, because now we see almost over 1,000 gold lead for LGD. And I know you're talking about Taeyoon, but his lack of range terrifies me in these later fights, and how he's going to be able to pick apart the backline in a lot of these cases. So
yeah,
we'll see maybe if a little bit of reservedness comes out from both sides after that pause. As we're gonna we're gonna look at it again.
Well, this fight was much better for Shaoye than the first one, as Cube got stuck on the rocks from the looks of things again. Really, really well played here by XQW, who for me is been a standout in this series. Just Cube's gonna get one yoink. It doesn't look like it was enough to actually get a kill. Man. It was really different.
It's so different. That is not the same fight.
Yeah, I don't know where exactly they chrono braked it, but shout out to LGD. Obviously they get to see that fight once, but the game plan to kite back with the Talia this time, I think, was the big game changer. And it was a nice engage from Vampire, but WE just didn't have enough gas in the tank to follow through the Talia rocks, which between the Unraveled Earth and the Q spam, nice fight for LGD, and I mean, this is very LGD favored.
It is. Now they'll actually get the Rift Herald as well. Feels a little bit bad. I don't know. We'll try not to dwell on it too long, because the game.
It does feel bad. I'm not. You're not wrong there, sadly, Mazel. It does feel pretty bad.
They didn't get first turret though. Let's go.
Progress.
Wait, that means they got the feats. They just got the feats outright. Nice. Let's go, WE.
Okay. I do like feats a lot. I think they were a really strong addition.
Wait, you like feat?
Okay, Mazel. We're not going to throw it back to last year. I think feats are a nice addition. Like, for me, just being able to have strength for the entirety of the game, for winning the early game, I think is a nice reward, especially when we do talk so much about scaling, especially at the highest level of play. It matters a lot, so just being able to take something with you. If you win early game, you get something for the rest of the game. You have that third boot option, which are relatively strong. It's not a bad option by any means. If it goes late, then your inventory is going to be a little bit stronger. So I think feats were a really nice addition to the game. I know people had beef with them early on, but I really like the incentive that it gives you to play a little bit more for early game, and the fact that if you do win early game, you get something with you for the rest of the game.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how expensive they are. Some of them are really good. Some of them are worth buying. We are getting to a point where we could look at a soul point on an Infernal Soul, by the way, for LGD. That would be an incredibly powerful decision-making tool that they could get themselves. You already see some deploys coming out that side of the map. I think this one could be very important.
All of them do damage, so it's Infernal would be really nice for them. Do want to shout out a couple interesting things that we have. First off, YCK on the Nautilus. I actually went for the free boots in the Inspiration Tree. I gotta say, this is something that I usually do in solo queue because people just don't roam and move, and you get extra move speed for the whole game. He did it in a comp game, which is really surprising. But it's actually a nice buff. Like, the move speed, I think, matters a lot in terms of setting up your hooks and your skill shots. Maybe getting a better dredge line here and there. Also, Mbessa with the Black Cleaver. Yes, Cube on the Cassante, very armor-heavy build. The standard build we see from Mbessa, though, is the Shojin second. So that's going to be delayed for the armor shred that Cleaver brings. Curious if Lee Sin ends up going for a different second item so they don't stack Cleavers either. Cleaver is a really good option for Lee Sin, but maybe we see Climber go for a Shojin or a Sterax himself.
TPs, Dragon coming up.
Yeah.
We have the timer ready to go. Sasa has not TP'd. He's just going to walk. He does have that item spike. So LGD are a bit more favorable position here, about 1,000 gold up. They're going to move into the pit first. WE are going to try to get priority in mid lane and now move to respond.
Yeah, also, do want to say YCK did go with the Talismans. Been seeing a little bit more play in this season. So a lot of focus on move speed from the Nautilus as Gonna get a nice pick on the cube. Oh, they're going in.
Sasa is in the middle of the fight. The double knock up there. And XQW just takes down Tianzhen. No jungler means a free dragon. And that'll be sole point for LGD.
I mean, this is just too easy for LGD where they took the fight. Team WE, they need angles. They need to find ways to get on the backline. The preemptive flash from Shaoye to get out of Vampire's combo. He's not even rocking the cleanse against the Rakan, which is kind of disrespectful at this point of the game, but LGD just get to play a free front to back, exactly what their comp wants to do, and play around the Varus. It really feels like we're getting to the stage of last game where Team WE is not doing anything to deter the game plan that LGD wants to win this game. As Shaoye, after that flash, no one could touch him.
Actually get the hook straight onto the main tank. It's the public execution onto him as well. Attempted backline access by both Vampire and Tianzhen gets denied.
I mean, I don't think WE had a good angle or like the ability to win that. Again, front to back in that choke, I'll really favor LGD, but that was a pretty fight from them, man. You have YCK holding one end of the pincer. You got Climber peeling the other end of the pincer. And Shaoye and XQW just go untouched for the vast majority of the fight. Really well done by LGD. Again, a team that, for me, just these LDL champions have been pretty impressive in the early season. And I gotta say, like, this is promising for LGD moving forward. I mean, having these young guys that did something in Tier 2, experience any sort of success in Tier 1, we've seen it could have an impact on getting more players promoted in the future. And the fact that LGD...
reward system.
Yeah, and the fact that LGD stuck to their guns, too, I mean, props for them by just rewarding players that did win in that secondary league. And these guys look good up against WE today. They played Anyone's Legends decent in their debut, and now today... this is looking to be a pretty one-sided series, something that we didn't exactly expect coming into this, Mazel.
What's so crazy is just a little bit ago, before that long pause, I mean, all the numbers at the bottom of your screen were blue. They were all favored towards WE. They started off so strongly, and LGD have just fought their way back yet again, and that's 2 times in a row now that LGD have shown some serious grit. And it's about their compositional strengths as well. They're just very good at playing around these. XQW is having yet another game where he's having a ton of impact, and this time on the Talia, a little bit of a different look. It's just really nice to see some of the level coming out of LGD, even if maybe their expectations aren't taking home the Silver Dragon Cup. That development in this league of 16 teams is so important.
Hey, it's something you can run with, and like the last couple of players that I really remember, like moving up and moving forward, like I'm thinking of Cream and Shanji, right? If these guys were younger players, played on the same team, managed to do a little bit of org hopping, and Cream is playing on some pretty strong rosters, right? Shanji had his chance, and kind of trying to bounce back on other rosters as well, but those were young guys that had some momentum and were able to kind of move up the ranks in terms of who they were playing with. I don't know if the plan for LGD is to stick with these guys and pay them what they're worth as time moves forward, or maybe they're trying to, sell them off to other orgs. As we see that extra movement speed on Nautilus coming up big there for YCX, but yeah, I gotta say, like, LGD, the fact they have something to play with these guys, it feels promising at the moment, and we'll see how high up the standings these guys can push.
And that's where the contrast of WE is so heartbreaking, because these are guys who are maybe not the sharpest tools in the LPL shed, at least in terms of the bright, shiny new pieces, but it's pieces that have been trying to make their way up over time. And WE is a team that was literally in the top 10 in the playoffs last year in summer for the LPL. So it's an organization, it's players that want to find success but just aren't clicking together so far. Atacon is spawned up on the bottom side. Saw a lot of presence down there from both sides. Do wonder if it's going to become the case to fight for this one. It is the GA Atacon, so a lot of power going to whoever claims this one, and almost 3,000 gold up is LGD.
At this point, we just got to start calling it like the pro play Otacon. I've only seen the other one solo queues. Oh, that's a pick on Mbessa.
Sasa is just in the middle of 4 people and still kicking, still going. Finally dies.
That's big.
Now they've over TP'd. XQW just dies outright to Cube. A little bit of revenge for that pause gameplay. And now WE can move to Atacon.
Yeah, I do want to praise WE. That was a nice setup to get the pick on Mbessa. Sasa did get out, did buy time, but unfortunately is right towards the Talia TP, which didn't connect fast enough, so it was a free kill when Talia landed, and that's going to be Otacon, you got to believe, going over.
I don't think Tianzhen wants to go with... Oh my god, Cube is just gone! It's a YCX who kills him. Tianzhen now goes in for the backline, but he dies too. Big execution from Karis, though. He takes down Shaoye, the last remaining damage. Unfortunately, Otacon has respawned, and LGD can answer.
Got the health back. That's a good fight from LGD. As it's just gonna lead the Soul.
I mean, that's Infernal Soul. If they don't stop backing right now or try to contest this one, I mean, Taeyoon realizes he's in some trouble, but nobody is here to contest this dragon. You've got all team members coming down here for LGD. That's just an Infernal Soul at 25 minutes, Cubby.
I mean, even when things look the grimmest for LGD, still able to come out with a big objective. And Team WE, I can understand wanting to fight Otacon, but they could have fixed lanes and set up for the dragon to deny Soul. As again, it's a nice pick onto the Ambessa. Shaoye does his best to get out, but it's right towards the Talia TP. Ends up landing right in the Cyclone. Instant knockup. No fight for XQW to play. Even Health Flash, I mean, he was just going down. LGD, I like the fact they're trying to skirmish, trying to find a fight. This is a really nice ult from Shaoye. And to at least stall the Cassante. Again, once you get rooted up like that, can't channel the Unstoppable. And we do see the Cassante melt when that wasn't an option. And even the peel here onto the Varus, they're at least able to trade kills. So it's a 2 for 2 in the back half of the fight, being down a number for LGD. Win out the health bar war, take Infernal Soul, and now Otacon should be under threat for LGD, as with that Infernal Soul, they have way more power for the rest of the game now, securing that buff.
I'm pleasantly surprised as well as at Taeyoon's movements and positioning in a lot of these fights. Oh, Vampire, okay. Oh, he gets publicly executed, but it's actually going to be caught there by Cube, who's tanking him up, but also got Chains of Corruption yet again, half his health gone. Taeyoon coming over the backside. He has Killer Instinct, but they're going to take the fight. Tianzhen in a lot of trouble. Goes for the second Cyclone there. Oh my goodness, he's just going in. Karis in 1v4, but they have the backline access. They have Taeyoon to follow him up, but he's being CC'd. He's being chased down. Sasa finds him. Now you've got a big fight on Cube. Cube is trying to find the backline himself, but LGD have wiped the floor with WE just like a rag in the kitchen. Otacon coming alive for LGD.
I like the fight, the idea from Team WE. Sums are down. You can get the dive off. And they did find Shaoye in the back line. But XQW had a fantastic fight on the Talia, holding his own side of the fight and pretty much stymieing the majority of Team WE between the Unraveled Earth, the rocks. I want you to keep your eyes on on the Talia as we get through this fight. Yes, Cube. He ends up getting chunked out early on. I think this is a fine use of ults to get a chunk on Cassante. We can't start up the Otacon, but the execution from Vampire, he does a nice job of being patient here. I think he should have stayed in the fog, but was at least able to protect Tianzhen and then got a really nice counter engage off the back of Karis. So yeah, the Varus goes down. Good execution on Taeyoon, but now it's all about XQW in this fight. He plays a weird side of the fight. Had to dodge down to get around to the Shuriken flip from Karis, but was able to stall, stymie Tianzhen, and Karis in the back half played that beautifully on the Talia, and the rest of his team took care of business on the other side of the fight. We return to Vibe. Baron's being started. Vampire's not spotted behind. Could have a big angle.
This is tough, though. I mean, you have the GA. You can literally fight on site, and unfortunately, Cube did not get the memo ahead of time. Now, Sasa is just going to the back line. XQW has found a big Weaver's Wall to try to catch Tianzhen out. They can just start this Baron, force the hand of WE.
They're going to fix waves and start.
Just moments ago, it was such a heavily contested series, a heavily contested game, at least, not series. And LGD have just blown this wide open, almost 6,000 gold in the advantage.
Yeah, they got it back to looking like it's not a very heavily contested series, as LGD have really run with things. I really have to praise. I like how YCX and Climber are playing around their carries, this Lee Sin Nautilus duo. There's a lot of dive. I think they're doing a decent job of peeling back. And with XQW, we've seen what happens if you're able to peel the Talia. I mean, Talia does so much, it almost feels like inanimate damage, just with all the AoE, all the DPS that she can put out with her kit. And this Talia is doing work in terms of peeling the front line. Everyone has to go in, everyone has to go through the rocks, and Team WE, if they don't have an angle, having a really tough time getting through this Talia.
I mean, they literally can't do anything. I'm also just staring at numbers on my screen. The fact that Vampire is level 9 comparatively to XQW is level 16.
Oh, we're going in.
And they're just going all in under turret. Sasa is tanking it up. He still has the Atacon GA. He's going to get it popped while he got Taeyoon as well. They're just under turret, but it doesn't even matter. The turret's not doing anything, Cubby. When the game mechanics don't work for you, what can you do? All hope for WE has just been sucked out of the Xi'an Arena, and LGD's fandom has run forth a 2-0 lead in this best of 5 and match point.
And I love some of the fundamentals that we're seeing from LGD. End screen there, what I'm looking at, Taeyoon, he had flash up in the gray screen, did not have it available for that depth charge combo. And the rest of LGD, I mean, it's textbook, it's patience. Wait for that depth charge to connect. Chain of Corruptions, Talia Flick, that comes out. You did have some pretty nice set combos to at least use into the heavy dive that Team WE was showing, and LGD just used their tools better. And I think that for WE, if they want to play a comp like that, they've got to set up the map better in terms of objective setup. It really felt like they never had a pushing lane and then played off that to get any angles. Like, when you're fighting front to back against Varus, Talia, and in chokes, that's the exact setup that you want to fight. If you're playing those carries, they're playing into LGD's win cons, not playing for their own. We saw that in Game 1 as well, and really want to see that change in Game 3, because if we don't see that change, then we're not going to a Game 4.
No, not at all. It's just going to be another 3-0, and I'm going to be very sad, not only for WE's chances,
XQW.
but also me. I think the fact that first of all, that Sasa was even close to XQW in that one when he literally did like nothing but farm and lane all game. XQW absolutely deserves it, not only for that one big play in the bottom side, but some of the map movements as well have been really, really nice to see. And again, it's stemming from that reward system from LGD, the fact that Climber and XQW showed so much promise. And honestly, I mean, Climber losing a little bit of the spotlight here to XQW in this series in particular, but this was the combo we wanted to see be proficient together, and boy, does it look good.
I mean, YCX too. Got to give him some praise. Obviously, coming from that roster, did make that mistake in the 2v2, led to the double kill that went over to Taeyoon on the Kaisa, but bounced back really well. I thought the rest of his game on Nautilus was honestly textbook. Like, he was making the right plays, choosing the right engages, and that team was functioning well. We saw them chain CC really well, and I think it was those things that we're just not seeing from Team WE that's led to the first 2 games looking very LGD favored.
Just, man, the level 9 support, the level 16 mid laner, those are numbers you don't see very often.
One might say, when you saw level 9 on Vampire, he was really sucking the life out of you. I feel like that was it.
Is Aragon just sucked dry now, or what? Like, at the point, a big Vampire fan there, Aragon. Hopefully it'll turn around for him, and hopefully it'll turn around for WE, because it's been a couple back-to-back games of a little bit of tough times. I do want to see the Rengar. If it's gonna be a 3-0, I just do it.
If we're gonna go down in flames, we might as well go down in style.
Tianzhen has not looked good this series. I'm not saying he's gonna look any better on the Rengar, but I need to see this guy have a little bit more confidence. Because maybe he plays with confidence, it looks decent.
Maybe a Viego comp, a Jinx comp, just simplify things for Team WE. I want to see Team WE play through their win cons better. I feel like they had a better idea of how to execute some of those fights. Like, it's not like things were always LGD favored. I think some of the angles they took were okay, but just not good enough. And for me, it was the lack of angles that they were able to create that led to those fights, making sure they went in LGD's favor. So, yeah, still looking for a lot from Team WE. I'm less disappointed about Game 2 than I was Game 1, but still, they haven't shown us the gameplay to actually make this a series yet. It's been all LGD.
Yeah, a couple bad decisions, bad timings. Early game looked better. But unfortunately, you got to play good at all parts of the games, Cubby. Who'd have thunk it? And LGD have learned that from their time against AL, which, again, is the biggest breath of fresh air to me. The fact that we are seeing this team find early, maybe at least in that first game, early advantages and propel them. Maybe in this situation, losing a little bit early and finding a way to fight back in that case. But it was domination nonetheless. I mean, that 25-minute Infernal Soul definitely helps.
Yeah. I mean, again, like Team WE, that's just not playing textbook League, right? They hit the Otacon. They don't prep the Soul. They don't take the numbers advantage to take away that major objective that LGD was looking for. And, I mean, once they gave that away, it was just game over.
This was the 2v2 that started off so good for WE.
This was really well played by Taeyoon.
It was.
I think YCX made a mistake with where he stepped up or just throwing that hook there, but it was a promising start here for Team WE. It's not like they had no winning angles, like they had nothing going for them in this game. That was not the same as game one.
Started off 3-0 because Karis also got a kill in the mid lane right after that.
The bounce back though here from LGD I thought was so good. Again, textbook lead. We got level 6 on Varus. Let's do something. Let's bring our Talia down and just throw some pressure. Get Kaisa off the wave.
People.
Ends up leading to a kill. This fight from Team WE, this is a terrible take. There's no angle where this fight's going to be winning. Just fighting into a choke, into a Talia, and into that unraveled earth like that. Like, Vampire and Tianzhen were not able to get around the rocks. And then this is the one winning angle, which play
the game.
Like, this is decent from Team WE, but I can still argue that it's more so a mistake from LGD because of the TP from XQW and the way that Shaoye kited is really putting Talia in that tough spot. Like, instantly after this, like, it was over. I mean,
yeah, it literally was. It snowballed so fast. It was actually crazy. And it wasn't even, like, Shaoye was having a ton of work being given out by him in a lot of these fights, but in the end, it really wasn't even about it. It was about XQW. And looking at this fight, you'll see why.
It's about Battle Varus. Like, I mean, he was going down. He was the target of everyone, but still, he was taking health bars down with him. Sometimes all you can do, especially when you're lacking sums and when you have the guts to take barrier in a game like this, because, I mean, you're going down to a good combo from Rakan there. It's just a given. Yeah. We don't have the cleanse flash, so but yeah, that's what's going to get XQW the player of the game, I should say.
The last rock, a little bit of an assist from Atacon.
Really well played. Like him playing away from his team there, I don't think every mid laner takes that decision, and he took that decision and made it work. Again, I've been pretty impressed by XQW in this early season as a fresh rookie, an LDL champion. It definitely showed why he was winning in that secondary league now in the first league. It was some good play from him on a variety of champs. I think he's been best when he's been moving away from mid lane. I like how he's playing map, but even there playing the fights on Talia, I mean, I had a nice game.
This makes me so excited for them to face off against TES as well, and for him to go against Cream. That's the other crazy thing. I mean, we're going to be getting down to the MVP here, but like literally after this series, both these teams only have one series left to play in this group, which is just mind-boggling to me because it's 3 best-of-5s, and your winter split, if you didn't make top 2, is over in each group. So a lot on the minds of WE. What can make this roster work? What can make them look a little bit better, maybe a little bit more comfortable, maybe a little bit more in sync? And that's got to be started in the draft, finding things that work well together, because that is also another thing for LGD, that they've just had a lot of really good drafts that synergize very well.
Yeah, I mean, that draft, I thought it could have been winnable for Team WE. What I like the most about LGD is they're playing to their win cons, and like, they're not doing anything super fancy. They're just playing the game like, hey, we have prio here, we can go play here, or we have a level 6 advantage here, or advantage here, let's go make this play. It's nothing that's been super creative, super, you know, out of bounds or stuff that we're not expecting. It's just been textbook league from a team full of LPL rookies that are doing damage.
Yeah, I think that's the coolest thing. We're seeing a lot of new faces in the LPL itself, but also, you know, being able to see these guys, at least the 2 left over from the championship roster from LDL. But it's really cool to see this combination that everybody was so excited to see continue to pay dividends in that way.
Yeah, and again, props to LGD. This is an org that, like, I remember the first split that I watched LPL was when Deft came over to EDG, and shortly after that, Imp came over to LGD, and Season 6 was supposed to be the year that, you know, LPL made a huge splash at Worlds. That was not the case. LGD flubbed. But this is an org that, you know, they have some pedigree, they have some history in the LPL, and we just have not seen the performances from them of late.
You go back 10 years, 12 years, 13 years, you're like, oh my God, this is the match of the week.
Yeah, it really is. That just hasn't been the case for LGD, so to see them develop internally and stick to their guns for the upcoming year is something that we're not, you know, really familiar with in LPL and LCK. It's all about the big superstars that have been there for so many years that just keep on doing it, and who can challenge them. Well, sometimes you got to kind of climb the ranks and make sure that you can get to the point where you're challenging them. And I got to say, so far, the rooks, the promotions that LGD have, they look really promising. Like, this is a team that I'm kind of excited about in the early season and want to see what they do against top esports, because A, that's going to decide the group, and B, we'll see. Like, that's an elite team, right? We'll see if they can play them as well as they did, or play them better than they did anyone's Legends, who they were able to challenge even if it wasn't 3-0.
Well, that's it for our game number 2. We're going to be taking a little break. Get ready for game number 3. Don't you miss it.